morning. I'm Mayor Tommy Roberts. Welcome back to the Mayor's Table. My guest this morning is Jennifer Rivera, who is the Communications Manager with Waste Management. Jennifer, it's good to have you here with us on the Mayor's Table this morning.
Thank you for having me.
We both wore our green today.
We did. We're in the recycling spirit, aren't we?
And we didn't even contact one another in advance about doing that, but when I started thinking a little bit about the topic this morning, I thought, well, Jennifer's going to want to talk about the green facts, and so we better have some green on when we do this.
Right. Reinforce that message. Absolutely.
You've come from Phoenix.
I have. I support Waste Management Communications and very excited to be here and talk to folks in Farmington, and thank you all for your business as well as help encourage you to recycle more.
Before we get started on the topic for this morning, I want to mention that you had asked me about Dan Darnell, former city councilor, and you'd said that he sends his regards to us, and you have some fairly significant contact with Dan on a regular basis, I take it.
Absolutely. Work very closely with Dan as well as Dustin Maxwell, the district manager here, to support the city.
Many of our viewers will remember Dan, and will remember Dan as a very competent city councilor, so we always want to reach out to Dan, say hello to him, and I always enjoy the time that we have when we get to see him and talk about old times. So
That's great.
If you see him again, tell him hello for me.
Absolutely, I will.
Jennifer, Waste Management has been providing recycling services for the city of Farmington under a third-party contract for about 10 years now, and it's curbside recycling. And we always are interested in knowing how we're doing.
Sure.
And so I want to start out there and ask you to talk a little bit about recycling in Farmington, how it's evolved over time, over this 10-year period of time, and maybe where we stand in the context of other communities and how they recycle. Sure. So I'm going to let you take it, and maybe just start about how many people or households are using recycling services.
Great. Well, I would like to thank everybody out there who is recycling now and encourage folks who maybe are interested but haven't started yet to call our customer service number if they'd like to request a cart. We have more than 50% of the residents, well over 50%, who are currently using a recycling bin or have one at their home, so we're excited about that. What we look at Waste Management to try to gauge the participation rate and what that translates into is what we call a diversion rate, which is just a term for saying how much material are you diverting from the landfill and instead recycling? And so that's a really good sense of all those materials that are being put to a better use instead of going to the landfill. So Farmington has been about pretty steady around 6 to 7% for the last year or so, which is a great start.
And that's a diversion rate?
That's the diversion rate.
How do you quantify the diversion rate?
In tons. So we look at how many tons are going to the landfill, how many tons are going to the recycling bin and getting recycled, and then we take that as a percentage.
How does that diversion rate compare to other communities served by Waste Management?
So I think there's a lot of opportunity to raise the rate. We think you could definitely get to 10% pretty easily by the end of the year with a little more community participation. Very realistic would be a 20% diversion rate for the city of Farmington. So we would love to see you hit 20 and then go beyond that if you want to, but definitely 20% would be a very realistic rate.
And so at 6 to 7%, your thought would be that we're underperforming a bit?
I think there's a lot of opportunity for more participation.
It's very diplomatic. Well, we do know that every household in the city of Farmington is paying for recycling. They're paying for a bin.
Right.
And we think that 50% or so are actually using that bin. Is that a fair number?
It's hard to say how many are using it, but definitely at least 50% have a bin. So.
Okay. So overall, how would you rate Farmington in the context of recycling?
I would say opportunity to really become a shining star for recycling.
Because, I mean, we don't want to sugarcoat the reality of it. We want to be able to tell people whether we're doing enough to recycle or whether we're not. And so I'm going to take from what you've said that we're probably not doing enough in the area of recycling, that there's much more room to improve those numbers. And if you won't say it, I will. But you'll have to correct me if I'm saying something that's not factual. So I'm just taking this opportunity to encourage our citizens to think a bit more seriously about recycling, and we want to talk about the materials that are taken at the landfill and that can be recycled at the curb. We do know that glass is not taken at the curb, that can be delivered by citizens to a couple of different transfer points. So let's talk about the materials that can be recycled at the curb.
Absolutely. We want to encourage everybody to put their empty, dry plastic bottles, aluminum cans, so food and beverage cans, paper, and cardboard into their curbside container. And if we really focus on those materials, just keep it very simple, bottles, can, paper, cardboard, I think we'll see that participation rate really take off and see a lot of benefits for the city. So those are the materials we want to encourage everybody to put in their recycling cart.
This may seem like a silly question, but it's one I've had and don't know the answer to. So we recycle plastic bottles at our home. I sometimes leave the cap on, which is plastic. Is that recyclable?
Absolutely. You know, the plastic cap debate has been raging for a while, and there's a lot of confusion about whether you keep the cap on or keep it off. You can absolutely keep the cap on. We just want to make sure that bottle has been emptied, that there isn't any water or liquid in the bottle. But yes, put that cap back on and it will get recycled as well.
I want to talk a little bit about the impact of recycling on the environment, but more specifically, the impact of recycling on our landfill. Can you talk about that?
Absolutely. Well, saving landfill space is one of the major reasons for recycling. And as it shows in the green facts, that's one of the data points that we provide to you, to the city, to the residents, because we know that that's a big motivator for some folks. And so not only do you extend the life of your landfill, which I believe has about 53 more years, give or take on it, but you also save in your disposal costs, because if you're not sending it to the landfill to be disposed, if it's getting recycled, then you save in two ways. So it's really good in terms of folks who want to do their civic duty. This is a great way to do it, to prolong that life for Farmington.
Let's talk about other green facts. Do you have some other points you'd like to make?
Absolutely. Other folks are really motivated by the direct environmental benefit and the impact that they can have by recycling. So some folks really like the fact that they save energy and water. When you use recycled materials to make new materials, it saves quite a bit in the manufacturing process. So that really motivates a lot of people. Other people just really like that idea that when I put my newspaper, my office paper, and my cardboard into the recycling bin, I'm actually saving trees. And you know, it's a great visual. So we include all of those different facts on the Green Facts Report, which gets put up on the city's website so people can follow along in the progress. So we really try to help motivate folks with that information.
I was provided some information here about April 2017 recycling benefits for the city of Farmington. And I take it that is the Green Facts list that you're talking about. It says that in April 2017, we recycled 97 tons of cans, bottles, paper, and cardboard. In that recycling those materials had quantifiable results in the context of saving resources. Talk about saving trees, landfill airspace, which you've already mentioned, electricity. How are we saving electricity when we recycle?
Sure, so we save the energy in the manufacture of new materials. So that is a huge savings in terms of the energy that by recycling, and I think on the Green Facts it was 22 homes annually. Just so 1 month of recycling, if you think about, look around your neighborhood, look up and down your street, all of those homes could be powered by the electricity that you save from recycling.
Cutting down on greenhouse gas emissions, which is something that we're all paying attention to. Talk about that.
Absolutely. Again, when you save in the manufacturing, you contribute to cleaner air, which I think we all benefit from, right? It's such a beautiful city, we want to be able to see it.
And there's a significant saving in water consumption as well. So quite a savings in the context of just a fairly nominal amount of recycling. 1 month of recycling creates some fairly dramatic results.
Right, it's so easy just to put that aluminum can in your recycling bin, that plastic bottle, and just that easy step of putting it in the right bin creates these amazing benefits.
Yeah. How can people get information about recycling? Let's say that they don't have a bin, they want to have a bin as a result of this mayor's table discussion.
Sure, we'd love that.
And I assume that you'll be out doing some marketing approaches, try to convince people to recycle more, and if they aren't recycling yet, to begin to recycle. How do people get that information?
Absolutely. Well, we encourage everybody to go to the city's website, which is very detailed and very up-to-date and has the numbers. I'm going to share a phone number right now in case people want to write it down, which is to our customer service. So it's 505, I'm going to have to look at my note, 327-6284. So you can call if you're interested in getting a recycling bin. We'll deliver it right out. Again, it's no cost because it's already included in what they're paying. So we encourage people to go to the website and then give us a call. We've got some great resources on our Recycle Often, Recycle Right website, which is RORR.com. And one thing that we'd really like to encourage to help spread that information in Farmington is we have some curriculum that elementary school teachers might be interested in. And it aligns with the STEM principles, the science, technology, engineering, mathematics. And it's information that they can incorporate to help kids from kindergarten all the way to 5th, 6th grade, just incorporate some interesting activities into different parts of their curriculum to help folks really understand the impact of recycling.
Some of what you've just said made me think about maybe whether there are tips for recycling that you try to communicate to potential users and to actual recyclers. Is that the kind of information that can be found on the website as well?
Definitely. We know that recycling has gotten a little confusing over the years, such as the cap on or off question. And so what we've really tried to do is make it simple for folks with our Recycle Often, Recycle Right message. So our 3 core tips are recycle all your bottles, cans, paper, and cardboard, right? Just focus on those materials. Keep everything clean and dry, and do not put plastic bags in your curbside recycling bin. You can take those back. There are a number of local retailers here who will collect those, but we want to keep any kind of plastic bag out of the curbside bin.
Mm-hmm. I would imagine you've done quite a bit of research as to the habits of people in recycling, and maybe even have researched why people choose not to recycle. Why do you think people would choose not to recycle?
I think some people, again, it's gotten very confusing or complex over the years. Maybe they feel like the rules on what you can recycle or what you can't have just gotten too overwhelming. Some people might be skeptical as to whether those materials actually get recycled, and we can definitely show them proof of that. We have a lot of videos online at our recycling facilities that show how those materials are sorted out, and they're put into nice bales and then sent on to manufacturers. So, and a lot of examples of how those materials that you put in your recycling bin now actually get made into new materials. So an aluminum can, for instance, is a great example. You put it in the recycling bin today, and in as quick as 60 days, it could be back on the shelf as a new can. Plastic bottles can be turned into fiberfill for ski parkas or sleeping bags. So these materials really do get reused, and I think some people they need a little more proof, or they need to hear of that to be convinced to do it.
We do want to convince, we don't want to convince people, but we want to try to convince people that it is a benefit to our ecological system to be recycling. I didn't jump right on recycling when it became available. I think we had our bin from the very start, but we've definitely, over this 10-year period of time, begun to recycle more and more. And I think it's a habit that people get into, and it becomes a part of the regular routine. And it comes to the point when you ask yourself, why wasn't I doing this all along? So I think it's just a matter of stepping into it and finding that routine, and it becomes habit, it becomes practice. So we want to encourage people to take that step if you aren't recycling now. I want to close and jump a bit in the context of the questioning, but there's got to be a financial incentive to waste management to recycle and to provide recycling services. And I was curious about the resale market for recyclables these days. Is it still a fairly strong market, or do you have any information about that?
So the commodity market swings pretty dramatically. So it's hard to say. I didn't look at what the markets are this morning, but they have not quite rebounded to the level that they were several years ago. So we are still 100% invested in recycling. It's a part of our culture. It's a part of who we are at Waste Management. But we really need to work with our community partners to make sure that we're getting good, clean materials in so that we can keep recycling sustainable.
Well, Jennifer, it's good to have you here today, and I think what you've been able to pass along to our viewers is very helpful. It's very informative. Do you have anything else you'd like to add before we close?
I do. This is a different topic other than recycling, but safety is a huge topic to waste management. So I just wanted to provide 2 reminders, which is to all the residents to encourage you to keep kids and yourself safe around our trucks. You should always keep a distance of at least 15 feet around our working trucks. Even if they're stopped in front of your home, please don't approach a truck until you make eye contact with the driver and he says it's okay. We love seeing kids smile and wave. That's the best part of the job for our drivers, but we want to just really encourage people to be safe, especially when kids are out of school on break, to remind them of that. It's very important. And then also along that same line in terms of safety, we do run the San Juan County landfill, and from time to time, if there are high winds, if there's been heavy rain, we do have to limit access for safety reasons. So we would just encourage folks that if it has been particularly rainy, if it's really windy, to call ahead to the scale house. I have that number as well, which is 505-386-5005, to call the scale house just to check, are you open? Great, I'm coming with a load. But again, it's a safety procedure. We want to make sure that everybody can get in and out safely.
Jennifer has good advice for the safety issues that your drivers may be dealing with. We appreciate that. We urge our viewers to remind their children that these big trucks are dangerous and they need to be aware of where they are. Jennifer, thank you for being with us today. I think it's been a very informative session and segment for our viewers. Maybe we can have you back another time, and we'll update on these green facts and see how we're progressing as a community.
Absolutely. I'll come back and report that you're on your way to 20%. I can't wait.
Great.
So thank you.
We want to thank all of you for viewing this segment of the Mayor's Table, and we'll look forward to seeing you again next Monday.